Hi, my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, Savage Reads. I have read some very interesting books. I am excited to talk about them, as always. But of course, I have to give you a craft update. So on the knitting front, I have a new project. I'm going to make myself a summery t-shirt, but I'm waiting for the yarn to show up. I ordered it online, and so in the meantime, I have been using every last bit of yarn scraps that I've had to make scrunchies to give as presents to my family. So I have just piles and piles of scrunchies, and you know what? They turned out fine. They're a fun little gift, just a little scrunchie. So I'm excited about these. They're fun, and it was a great way to just blow through the rest of my yarn stash. I hate having extra yarn. I know some people enjoy the crafting for the collecting of yarn, and I hate having stuff in my house. And so I felt really good just getting rid of every little bit of scrap yarn, and now I can start a new project just completely set with just that yarn. So that is on the knitting front, and on the painting front, I am having so much fun. I have had some really good successes and some kind of failures, but I'm having such a good time. I do want to shout out the YouTube channel, Katie Jobling Art, I think. I will link it down below. And I have been following some of her tutorials, which I think have been really great. I have really enjoyed putting my own take on her tutorials and learning some techniques from her. Let me show you a few of my recent paintings. So these two were the ones that I showed in a picture of in the last video. I have this one with the little flowers and this one with the trees. So really like those. But then this last week, I did one that I think is my favorite that I have done so far. And it could just be because it's my favorite flower. This one is definitely going to be put somewhere on a wall in my house because here are my daisies. I love the daisies. I was so happy with how they turned out. I loved following the tutorial and trying to learn how to mix the colors, get the right shading and the different things. I thought it was really cool that you use kind of a light pink and a blue for the petals to get that contrast and that depth, and it was so fun. So I've got this. I did another one yesterday that turned out okay, but it is probably not my favorite. It still was a fun time, and this is my sunflower painting. I painted all of these, and I had a great time figuring this out. I did follow the tutorial for the flowers, and then I tried to make some sort of sky in the background and tried to figure out how to make it look like a stalk. So I had a lot of fun figuring it out, even if the finished product isn't quite as good as the daisies, at least in my opinion. But I'm having fun and I'm gonna just keep painting. So if you have any other painting tutorials, please let me know because I am just trying it out, trying to learn, and I'm having a fun time. So let's jump into some of those books that I have read. So this first book was a recommendation from the channel Book Chat with Pat. So I will make sure to link her channel down below. And this is Beautyland by Marie-Helene Bertino. And this is following a woman, her youth, growing up, not feeling like she is from this planet. And her observations and this fax machine that she gets information from her superiors on the other planet. Really, the best way I can describe this tone-wise is it's like convenience store woman. It's that somebody who doesn't fit in to conventionally held standards of what is normal. And I thought it was kind of sweet and delightful. Honestly, I might forget about this book. I didn't find anything so memorable, but it wasn't supposed to be, I think. It's really just going through this life where you see everything from the outside and trying to make sense of why people do the things that they do when nothing comes easily. And I thought it was kind of sweet. So if you like books like Convenience Store Woman, I do recommend this. and you get to see all of her observations on the oddities of Earthlings, and I thought that that was kind of delightful. Now, I feel like I've had this book on my list a few times recommended from different people, but what I have listed is that Nyx Reads recommended it, so I will make sure to link her channel down below. And I finally read Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman. And this is a story kind of split in two. You have our main character, Caden, on a ship headed toward the Marianas Trench. And you also have Caden in high school as his friends start to notice his more and more erratic behavior. And so this definitely starts crossing over between what is real and what is imagined, what is metaphor, what is actually happening, but it is a very in-depth portrait of mental illness. This book is a young adult novel, but I don't think that it is exclusively a young adult novel. I think lots of people could get something out of this, and it is an interesting one just on the topic of mental health care, and I thought it was really well done. Do I admit that I was confused at the beginning of this book? Yes, but I think you're supposed to be, and so it was probably successful in that. The storytelling was really beautiful, and the way that it just led you through the way that Caden is seeing his world and how he comes to deal with it was really interesting. So out loud to my girls, I finally finished reading the Mistborn trilogy. We finished The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, and I really enjoyed this final book in the trilogy. You get used to Sanderson's inability to not tell you every single thing that his characters are thinking. You get used to that by the third book, and I can just enjoy the plot, and I had fun with it. I love how everything comes together with this. I think it is a really excellent way to get all of these different plot lines coming together, and the ending feels somewhat satisfying, and my girls had a great time. They were begging me to just read a little more, but my poor little 6-year-old just cried her eyes out at the end of the book. To be fair, so did I, but I felt so bad. But they loved it so much, they want to keep reading. Ooh, I need a break. We're reading The Phantom Tollbooth right now. Give myself a little break with something a little lighter. But yes, I'm on hold for Alloy of Law. They really, really wanted to keep going, and they enjoyed it. And I was having a hard time figuring out what else to read. And so we will probably end up reading more Sanderson in the future. But overall, the trilogy was a really fun time. I do recommend it. I just think do be careful if you are reading it to kids, because as I was reading it out loud, there were things that I skipped over or softened because it can be a little extreme in some of its violence or discussion of violence against women. And so I thought that it was a good read aloud. As a parent, you can kind of decide what your kid can or could not handle. And so it was fun. I am really liking taking a little bit of a break, but we'll probably be back at it soon. Next one was a recommendation from the channel Reading by My Shelf, and this is Nestlings by Nat Cassidy, and I was really buying into this. This is our horror vampire book. We have our main characters, Anna and Reed, and they have a baby, and Anna has gone through a really traumatic event going through childbirth, and she is in a wheelchair, unable to really enjoy this postpartum time. She's having a lot of very relatable struggles to many postpartum mothers, but definitely amplified, and they win a lottery to move into a beautiful historic building, but something is wrong in the building, and the building is starting to feel rather sinister. I thought this book, for the most part, especially toward the beginning, was really successful. You really feel those feelings that Anna was feeling. You get her paranoia, her overwhelm, her exhaustion in having this new baby in this unfamiliar place where something doesn't feel right. I think had I read this book a couple years ago, I would not have been able to handle it. So be aware if you have any issues about giving birth or postpartum, it may be triggering, but giving a little bit of space, I found it to be a little bit more cathartic and interesting to see her journey trying to figure out what to do and how to get through a really difficult time with limited ability to take control of the situation. And I thought that was really excellent. This eerie feeling, it was really set up well. I thought there was a lot of creepiness that worked well. I liked the whole vampire thing. I enjoyed this book. And then we got to the end and I really hated the ending. So I don't know what to say about this one other than I thought it was really well written. I thought it was really engaging. It was really great. And then I got to the end and I'm like, oh, really? Okay. I just was disappointed by the ending. I kind of get where the author was trying to go with this, but I just didn't really love it. So the ending wasn't my favorite. The book itself, pretty good. I think it is one of those horror books that might stick with me because the feelings felt so real throughout. I never know what to give these kinds of books if I'm giving a star rating. 3 stars? It was like 4 or 5 stars up until the end, and then it was like 2 or 3 stars. Like, it's okay, I don't really like it. So maybe 3 stars. And that is what I have read the last week. If you have any thoughts on these books, let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you all on the next one.